You said there's no good or bad bacteria. It's either biodiverse. You have a biodiverse gut, everything's kind of working in balance and harmony because there's all these different species, or there's a monoculture and an imbalance.
Yeah.
And then the same with just like you said, as you become more alive, as you become aware of the wound, as you discover that pain is inevitable and not to avoid shut down, but actually the antidote is in the wound, and suffering is optional. I'm just going on all these little quotes right now, but you crave more biodiversity of information too. And so watching only Fox, or watching CNN, or following only these people that agree with you, that's a monoculture. And we need to start, so I guess just talk about that in relation to the soil and what has happened to our soil as it relates to, biodiversity versus monoculture and how it's...
Yeah. So this is that harkens to this animation video that kind of hooked Alex into this book project. But After School is an incredible project by incredible artists. And he picks these, monologues or discussions out of podcasts or whatever, and then he animates them. And the story that is animated there, if you type in Zach Bush After School, you can watch this 22 minutes, I think it is. And what it basically depicts is the journey of the soil over the last 50 years. And interestingly, I don't think it's depicted in that portion well, but the soil within our gut has now been recognized to really be identical in function, structure, etc., to the soil that we would see beneath our feet or in the garden. And so when we talk about soil, we're talking about your gut as much as we are the backyard garden. So what's happened over those 50 years, and maybe you have to go back maybe 80 years to really kind of dig in deep on it, but what happened is we started to get addicted to the antibiotic methodology of trying to make biologic space for one species to occur. And so we started beating back weeds, and we started beating back other bugs and things like that seemed to be competing for the biologic space of a crop that we put in the ground, corn, soybean, whatever it is. And so we thought we were battling against nature, and we needed to kill nature so it could be there. All nature was trying to do was trying to correct a monoculture. Nature abhors monoculture. It will do whatever it takes to destroy a monoculture plant, and that can be in the cornfield, but it can also be in our neighborhoods. It's the specific elm that got planted all over the suburbs of America, and now of course we have this elm blight that's killing elms all over the country, and people are trying to come up with more and more inventive chemicals to spray the elm trees to keep this this I think it's the woolly algae that's in there, but this little creature that's wiping out the elms that were monocultured into our streetscapes. And so anytime nature sees one species dominating, its immediate instinct is that's not good, that we need more diversity in here, and it's going to do whatever it does to remodel that. And we did that not only in the soils around our yards and everything else, we did it in our gut with the antibiotic era in the 1940s, coming out of World War II, penicillin being the first one. And pretty soon after 1945 and 1975, 30 years of antibiotics, we suddenly realized, wow, we're really wiping out the whole digestive system of Americans, and our health is failing. We need to get some bacteria in there. So which bacteria aren't bad for us? And so that was that kind of reductionist belief system that came in the 1970s. We're these ones seem to correlate with good fermentation of yogurt. So if it's good for yogurt, it must be good for humans. So we created the probiotic market, where we would take 3 species of bacteria and put billions and billions of copies into a human gut over and over again every day for years and years and years. And we thought, wow, we're doing such good things. We're planting all of these good bacteria, these 3 species of good bacteria. We didn't actually know at the time, as a little bit of a defense here for the rationale of the 1970s, but we didn't realize that there was 40,000 species in an ideal human gut. We had no idea that the ecosystem was going to be that complex. And so today, as we look back in time, we're like, oh my gosh, we thought 3 species was going to somehow take us to 40,000. And we didn't realize that ecosystem diversity was the code for health of an immune system, was the code for health for an anti-cancer mission, and is the code for delivering nutrients to the body itself, all these things. So it was in that kind of myopic belief of bacteria are bad, they cause infections, maybe there's a few good bacteria. At least open the door. I think that's what we could say for the probiotic industry, is they open the door to the possibility that we could embrace bacteria instead of just try to kill them. But it is ironic that as we created, genetically modified crops and chemical agriculture as a whole, kind of really developing in the 60s and 70s with the Green Revolution, and at the same time that we're telling farmers, stop having pigs and cows and all this stuff, just have corn, just one thing, yeah. And so just have your one government official being like, you know what, we can make a commodity market out of that, and we'll put you in an abstract marketplace, and we'll make you way more money. You can have 10,000 acres instead of your little 300-acre farm that your family's had for 7 generations. Let's get you really wealthy, and let's go big. At the same time, American consumers are told, don't worry, here's the 3 good bacteria, so we're planting corn, wheat, and soybeans out in the fields, and we're planting, 3 species of bacillus in our guts. And for that, we find out that we created these really dumbed down systems, and we failed in our nutrient delivery to the human gut and through the farm field to those plants. And for that, we became more and more dependent on the very antimicrobial environment that we had begun with. And so there's this vicious cycle between trying to do a few monocultures and then your increasing dependence on the antibiotics that keep reinforcing deeper and deeper versions of that. And so now we're at a position today where 4 billion pounds of Roundup or glyphosate are sprayed every year in the world into our soils and water systems. And it's a water-soluble toxin, unfortunately, so it gets into the water table, into our rivers. 85% of the rain we breathe, 85% of the air we breathe, and the rain that falls. And so we are really immersed in this chemical that has been patented as an antibiotic, anti-parasite, antifungal, like it just kills organisms. And so as we create a planet that is no longer supporting life at its fundamental foundation, we see life disappearing very quickly. And so we've engineered the 6th extinction not by carbon dioxide. It's not fossil fuels that's causing the collapse of everything. It's actually antibiotics that are causing the collapse of everything. And most antibiotics, by like 100-fold, are herbicides rather than antibiotics from your doctor. And so it's a sterilization of this planet that's happening right now, and that's why we see a fundamental collapse of biology on the planet. And it's also beautiful that for every year that we put the pressure of extinction on there, there's more CO2 in the atmosphere, and there's more amino acids and nutrients that can't be accessed right now on the planet because of the death of the microbiome. But there's a bigger and bigger reservoir every year of that periodic chart that is going to be remobilized when we take our knee off the neck of this planet and let it live. And when we decide that microbiome has a right to live and actually is our pathway to our own survival, and we stop the herbicide and pesticide movement, we will be dumbfounded at the beauty that's going to burst out of this planet within a couple of years. And that's the fun thing about these farm families. You're going to start to feel desperation for these farm families. They are so chasing their tail down the spinning toilet here that you're like, how can it possibly get better? How can they possibly survive? And then they just stop doing what they were doing to kill themselves for just a short period of time, one season. And life just comes back in the most graceful way. And it's just so beautiful that nature, in her fabric of reality, nature has built in the grace for human fear, guilt, and shame behaviors that would drive us away from her. And she's just waiting patiently here to welcome us back into the womb. And we are going to rebirth with such a magnificent potential because there's more carbon available for the energy resources of the planet than it's ever been. So we will have a greener, more verdant planet than ever before. And I think that could happen naturally within the next 300 years, but with human ingenuity and aligning our efforts towards it, I think in the next 30 years, we could see North Africa regreening, Saudi Arabia regreening, Siberia and northern China. 1/3 of the planet could go green again. And as soon as that happens, the whole planet kicks back into its womb-like generative cycle. And we're going to see new species coming out of this planet, I think, in the next few decades if we do the right thing. And that gets me really goosebumpy fun. And that's like, wow, that's when we realize we are part of the divine. We are a God force, not just a cancer on the planet. It's a behavioral switch. It's a change in perspective that takes us from being the malignancy on the planet to being the creator itself. And so
that reminds me of those photos during COVID, right? When everything was shut down, the planetary photos that showed you like
the
how
regreening.
Yeah, how quickly it happened, like how fast, right?
Yeah.
It's there. I mean, I've heard you say it before, like our capacity and the planet's capacity to heal is incredible if we just let it.
Yes.
Right? We just have to allow it, right? So I'm not saying that shutting down, people's jobs and everything was great for the pen, but like when you look at those photos of the planet, it was pretty special. It was remarkable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think, and there's an interesting statistic that's come out of the medical world, which is, and certainly not out of the allopathic medical world, but out of the more integrative medicine world, we've recognized that healing happens about 12 times faster than disease, which is cool because you can just basically take the number of years it took you to get to your state of dis-ease, whether it be your mental health or your physical cancer or whatever it is, take the number of years accumulated. A cancer takes about 25 years to really kind of develop in its full potential. So 25 years, and then you switch years to months. And so it's going to take you 25 months to heal what you developed in 25 years. So that's just 2 years to solve for the 25-year journey. And so if you start to really back up, like, when did we really divorce from nature? Let's say that was 5,000 years ago. What's 5,000 months, And so that starts getting to be in my lifetime. I could see, something really happening pretty profound. And so I get pretty excited about the possibility that I could live old enough to see a completely different planetary dynamic than has ever been expressed in 4 billion year history. And so if rebirth is that much around the corner, it makes me willing to be human for another day, which is going to be living the experience of disappointing all the people that I most care about around me, breaking hearts of the fact that I didn't quite get everybody's algorithm figured out, and people are leaving the companies, or people are doing something or other, or I didn't make myself happy today, or whatever it is. Like, all the feelings that you're going to have in a day of being aware of reality are worth experiencing, so that little twinkle of possibility that I am going to be alive to see some new species of orchid come springing out of the forests of Virginia one day, when I'm just like sitting there drinking my tea on the back porch at 95 years old, and suddenly I'm going to be like, oh my God, what just came out of the soil? And it's some new opportunity that was seen by nature right now when it was under its extinction stress. Already has imagined that next flower, has already imagined the next beautiful thing that will come forth from nature. And it would do that so that it could be witnessed. And I'm eager to witness.
Thank you for listening to the Heal Podcast. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. And make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. And please rate and review us so that we can grow and reach more people. Thanks so much, and be well.